struggling to come to grips with reality. Confusion and chaos have become part of me. I seek answers to know where my liberation lies. Only in peace and calmness does that clarity arise. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. So many voices, so many interpretations. No answers given, only outer temptations. Where can I find that truth inside of me? Realization of what I am is all I'm wanting to see. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. No more redirection, ending the contemplation. Forget fighting reflection. Outer world's a projection. Internal is the cause, external's an effect, put it on pause. I'm silencing the noise, centering, entering void. Truth is beautifully subtle, the voice without a voice. Heart and mind shall settle, making decisions now, escaping illusions of choice. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmission. The wisdom transmissions.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Earth Intelligence Report live stream. Happy to be with you all here today. So again, a reminder that this Friday will be the Wisdom Nexus live stream. And of course, I'll be taking viewer topics. I'll be taking personal readings through that webcast. Again, that is on Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So again, glad you're all here. We will be getting into a bit of a Q&A session afterwards. We're going to go ahead and start off first and foremost with the Earth Intelligence Report. So let's go ahead and get right into it. To the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence, I ask you what certain signs may be apparent when the collapse of the old system and its controllers are mounting. The Consortium of Infinite Intelligence says, we acknowledge your query. We will state that you will become aware of the shattering of the old systems when many of the common narratives that once supported these groups shall start to turn against such groups altogether. You will notice that there will be more of an alignment that will transpire where that the people of the planet Earth know that the right path is to take shall start to be shared in agreement quite commonly through media representation. There will also be a cooperative failure from what was once conceived as old allies that will leave the remnants of these corrupt groups remaining in their own despair to no longer receive support of any kind, be it financial, political, through media networks, military command, national agencies, or any other form of psychological or sociological assistance. The controllers will be left to fend for themselves, as their supply lines and support systems are cut from beneath them. This means that all facets that represented the resources for such corrupt groups to maintain their positions in power on many different levels will start to collapse. There will be no further agreements, there will be no further alliances that will maintain these orders that represent a stranglehold on everyday men, women, and children. When you notice that your own media networks are turning against the controllers of these old systems, you are witnessing the brink of a greater collapse. When these controllers are unable to draw away the people gathered in the many thousands by failing to frighten or intimidate them, you are there for witnessing the brink of a greater collapse. When the attempted feeling of war and conflict do not operate in the psychological favor of these controllers, once again you are witnessing the brink of a greater collapse. When they can no longer control the money supply that would carry to their favor in sharing their continued empire's growth, where that will take place will be the relinquishing of such resources from them. You will witness the brink of a greater collapse. When there is more discussion about a new financial system, decentralization, refusal for international military aid, strengthened independence, media transformation, new clean technology, expansive education, government transitioning, such things are signs witnessing the brink of a greater collapse for the controllers. It has now reached the point where anyone on the planet that has been able to stand up and voice themselves as well as work together in unity consciousness, with many thousands of people that all stand united and together in the same feeling of overcoming these tragedies of corruption. This is leading humanity into a level of empowerment it has not achieved within any recorded time of history. The world is reaching a state of critical mass that will affect every nation across the planet. This will be particularly evident as you conclude this current year of 2025. As you move into 2026, the brink of a greater transformation through everyday people that take themselves out to the streets and make their voices known, standing together with those of equal frustration, are leading to the greater manifestation of the end of these corrupted groups and their agendas. Don't be surprised when the original mouthpiece of these corrupt groups, representing media outlets, are now starting to curry the favor of the average person. The scripts are now being rewritten. What was once seen as psychological operations will only result in a greater stride and a more powerful inertia that will favor the side of the people. The world will begin to support each other, and those that are still clamoring to their states of illusionary power will lose it. They have already reached the point where they can no longer progress any further based on their deluded plans of self-service agendas that only exist to harm others and benefit the few. Not only will this transpire, but you will also see the fall of the appointed controller superiors that remain hidden behind closed doors. Such multi-billionaires that have assisted these faction groups with order, control, manipulation, fear-mongering to fill the minds of the populace for generations, you will see their collapse as well. These events to come will show that there are no globalists held great wealth will be free from the collapse of an artificial empire that they help forge. They will become just as susceptible and vulnerable as the ones that have worked under them. You will see this collapse like a house of cards thrown from a mighty gust of wind, perpetuated by the millions of people standing tall and standing strong together on a united front. So again, it's getting a little bit faster. The people of this world will prevail, ending a war that has persisted for thousands of years. That time is just ahead. Look for these signs that we have discussed here to appear within the weeks and months to come. You may be surprised with how the old platforms that once defended as corrupt groups will now start speaking the truth regarding who these people are, the real agendas that they have portrayed, and the ending of their empires completely. The narratives are changing, and this is all possible because the people themselves are changing. This is the revolution building, and the revolution that will lead to the collapsing of the controllers of the world. This is the transmission from the Consortium of Infinite Intelligence, and we will now conclude this transmission. Okay, so that was going a little fast. I have to kind of slow down the marquee a little bit. But it was a very detailed transmission for that particular question about the fall of the controllers, about the world controllers and everything. And really what's happening is that there's bankruptcy that's going to be happening all over. And so where there's bankruptcy, the avenues that they usually would have will no longer have that power. They will no longer continue allegiance with these particular groups as they start losing money. It kind of goes back into the previous weeks where I was talking about the idea of dog eat dog, right? That the corrupt will take down the corrupt, that the factions are dividing and the factions are fighting each other. And that is being very, very apparent right now. So that's really what's taking place. So again, what you'll notice is that in the next little while, that a lot of these media networks will actually start turning on a lot of the old guard that basically helped the media to get funded, right? So basically the purse strings are changing. The scripts are going to be changing. So a lot of things are going to be taking place. And as I said, even as we get closer to the end of this year, we'll probably see some of that. And of course, definitely into next year, into 2026, which is the year of the fire horse. So there you go. A lot of stuff to look forward to. This is going to be interesting, right? So so that Earth Intelligence report was just giving that information about what things are ahead, what we can look forward to, what basically may be the forecast or the prediction, especially when media networks are now starting to turn against the very, very hand that fed them for a very long time. Going to be interesting. All right. So there you go. That is the Earth Intelligence Report. So we're going to go ahead and look into any questions. If you guys have any questions today, you can feel free to share into the chat. Okay. So we have one question here from Mary. Mary says, "Hi, Brad. What is the energy referred to as Luch? And is it real, please? I'm not too sure what you mean by Luch. I haven't heard of a Luch energy." Mary, if you're still around, are you able to rephrase the question a little bit? I'm just not too sure what you mean by Luch. So I'm sure that's a typo, but I'm not too sure what you mean by that. So if you can type it up again, and I can get back to you on that. Here's B here now. Will the Dark Controllers engineer some fear events to create distractions and slow down the benefits which 3i Atlas is bringing to humanity? They're always going to try to do that. Yeah, they're always going to try and maneuver something. Even the whole idea of no kings, right? That's a big thing that's happening on social media right now. The whole idea of no kings taking place, that's a George Soros psyop. So what basically a lot of the controllers will do, the cabals will do, is they will intercept a lot of these organic protests, and then they will try to curry it to their favor. They'll try to throw all these slogans and logos and all this stuff together to basically try to create more stuff towards their favor, right? You even have Bernie Sanders talking about it, and he's also promoting the no kings and all that sense. It's just the idea of these Democrats trying to rub elbows and basically, throw more fuel onto the fire that represents their own corrupt deeds. They say, oh, well, this is being taken off of us now, so why don't we just go ahead and utilize this to our benefit? But it's going to fail, right? Because like I said, the majority of the people that actually do these actual protests are non-violent, right? And if they start getting violent, anytime you're seeing violence on the streets, that is not the people, right? Those are paid groups. Those are oligarch funded groups, terrorist groups, you could say. And this has happened for so many years. Like even if we go back to the Canadian Freedom Convoy, they were trying to infiltrate it, try to make everybody look violent, right? And so that's how they work. And basically cameras will start going around and they try to look for chaos. And they say, oh, wait a minute, this is all turning into chaos. This is turning into anarchy. They're getting violent. They're getting vicious, right? Maybe they're promoting hate slogans and they're waving horrendous flags and all that. That's what they do. That's how they catch you. And they will basically go and they will find these small groups that are causing this chaos that are often George Soros funded. And they will put that on the news. And they'll say, oh, that's what this protest is all about. My God, they've been doing that for so many years. Even going back to the Occupy movements as well, too. They try to find rowdy bunches, right, who want to break car windows, who want to smash glass, who want to yell hate speech, all of that stuff. And that is what they try to put onto the news and say, oh, this is what this is all about, right? Hundreds of thousands of people are just here for violence, and they're here to cause chaos. But that is, again, the infiltration. So it's psychological tactics. So for Be Here Now, yes, that's exactly what they try to do. They will try to smear a lot of these organic campaigns that come together. But it won't work because, like I said, the crowds are so massive, right? And even when you do see a lot of that stuff, you notice that that's not from the majority of the people, right? You have hundreds of thousands of people that are peacefully marching. They will say their things, of course, but like I said, they'll get these little isolated groups, and they'll start being violent and abusive and aggressive and vicious, and start opposing police. And it's basically, like I said, it's like a psyop hitting another psyop, right? Again, it's a faction hitting another faction. This is all just left and right, right? It's Democrats, it's Republicans, it's the blue, it's the red, right? You don't even pay attention to that, right? Stay in the center, because everything that represents those left and rights are distortions, right? The whole key are the people who are peaceful, who are peacefully marching, who are indicating powerful change taking place. So that's what we're seeing. Beautiful thing. But yes, that's exactly what they're going to be doing, is they're going to try to engineer fear-based events around it, because they've been doing that for so many years with so many different protests as well too. But this is going to be unlike anything anybody has ever seen, because we're going to see a multitude of different cities doing this. So even if one or two cities may have that, there are other cities that are running strong. And then you look at other countries, and then there are other countries that are doing this. And really, they don't even have enough manpower to keep up with it, right? If you have hundreds of millions of people from hundreds of cities all over the planet, you can't keep up with it, right? So, and they're running dry. What are they going to pay them with? Respect? How's your respect bank account, by the way, right? They can't really keep paying off these things because they're going broke. Their resources are very, very scarce right now. So they're losing money. They're losing manpower, they're losing resources. So the whole idea of their infiltration is going to be very, very short. All they can really try to do now is try to deceive people and say, hey, no kings, right? Well, Donald Trump isn't a king, right? He's an elected leader. So the whole idea of that is garbage. But like I said, that's what they're doing. They're going to create these engineering things, these ploys, as they always have, yes. But again, it's not going to change anything. It's only going to make people feel stronger to go out and participate. So thank you for your question. Let's go ahead, and we got a donation-based question here. This one here is from Denise. Hello, Denise. Denise says, will Canadians who refuse digital IDs face bank account freezes? Well, we haven't even got to that particular point yet. I don't see that happening because Canada is on such a loose edge as it is. And so I don't even really think that the digital IDs are really going to see the time of day in Canada, because it is really on the brink of collapse. It may actually be very possible that we may start to see Pierre Poilievre becoming the next prime minister here probably within a matter of weeks. So I don't think that digital ID is going to see the face of day in Canada. So we'll have to see. But no, it's kind of like what's happening in the UK with the digital IDs. There is so much opposition to it. Nobody is going to go with it. Nobody is going to accept it. So we're kind of using the UK as an example right now because they are trying to roll that out. But basically, I could say that Starmer is on the way out. He is ready to basically be ousted here. And I think that there's going to be another big election that's going to be coming into the UK here very, very quickly, possibly even before the end of the year or the start of next year, right? So no, I don't see that happening for Canada or the United States or anything of that nature. UK is really being the prime example of how people will respond to that. So it's kind of like a social experiment. Is if they're trying to utilize that, and they're trying to bring out the digital IDs, we're seeing exactly what's happening in the UK, and people are going to stand up against them. So even if I'm looking at the Akasha right now, if I'm looking at Canada, based on your question about digital IDs, if they're even going to see the light of day here, no. It's almost like they're just being scribbled out of existence. I am not seeing them coming to light at all too, right? They may talk about it, they may try for it, but again, it's not going to fly. Especially when this particular prime minister of ours is on his last legs. He is basically on the verge of just being thrown out the window, so to speak, of Parliament. So I don't think that's going to last too long. He is probably going to be one of the shortest run prime ministers in history with the way things are going right now. So there you go. Okay, thank you, Denise. Okay, Elaine had a question here. I guess it's a follow-up from Mary's. Loosh energy. Okay. I have never heard of loosh energy. So give me a moment here, guys. I need to figure out what this is. Loosh is a term from metaphysical and spiritual context referring to a type of energy of life force, particularly from sentient beings like humans created through emotional experiences. Concept was coined by consciousness explorer Robert Monroe and has been explored in various spiritual and alternative contexts, including theories about energy harvesting by other dimensional beings. Okay, I see. A type of energy of life force. Okay, so you're basically referring to prana and chi. I have never heard of that. I've never heard of loosh energy. I'm familiar with Robert Monroe, but I was never aware that he actually used a term like that. Okay, so loosh energy. Okay, so going back to Mary's question here, what is the energy referred to as loosh? Well, basically, from what I just looked up, it is referring to life force energy, right? It's just something that Robert Monroe coined, probably from a lot of his astro journeys that he was going through. So loosh energy, I believe, would represent life force energy from what I'm seeing, but I've never heard of that term before. So that's interesting. Well, there you have it. I had to look it up because I never heard of that. Okay, thank you, Mary. And thank you, Denise, as well, too. Let me see here. Let's see if I missed any questions here. George says, hello to all the bots and AI on the internet controlling everything. Well, that's basically true. Almost half the internet right now is AI and bots. So there you have it. Let's go to, is it Paranit? I got some money in Anthroposophic Bank. Anthroposophic Bank. Is it safe to leave it there? I'm sorry, Parneet. I've never heard of an Anthroposophic Bank. You guys are like really throwing these weird curveballs at me today. I have never heard of an Anthroposophic Bank. I have to look that up. Sorry, man. Like you guys are throwing like these really weird curveballs today with a bank like that. Okay. I think you mean an anthroposophical bank. Okay. I've never heard of that. I have no idea what that even is. Sorry, man. I can't really help you. I do not know what that is. So I'd have to look it up. I'd have to explore that a little bit. Maybe that's something you can ask me on Friday if I do a little bit of research on it. But I've never heard of an anthroposophic bank. Okay. Does anybody else know about that? I've never heard of that. I've never heard of an anthro whatever you call it bank. So like I said, loose energy. Never heard of that. Antro whatever bank. Never heard of that either. So like I said, you guys are throwing curveballs this morning here. But like I said, maybe there's other people who may know, and maybe they can fill me in on it. Right? Let's go on to the next question. Question, if Trump is now a doppelganger or a clone, is it done with his consent or is he under control by the dark side? I would not call him a clone in that way. I'm basically looking at it in the idea of a doppelganger. The real Trump is still around, right? And I basically have referred to the real Trump as one who is missing in action. There's word that he may actually be working on a much more higher sector. It's kind of like when he lost the election to Biden. He took on a new role, and he was basically working together with high levels of military, and he was even working with extraterrestrial intelligence. And I feel he's still keeping that particular role. So my feeling is the real Trump is around. I don't know if he has that kind of influence anymore relating to presidential affairs because, like I said, unfortunately, the Trump that's in the White House is not the real Trump. And I've said this many times already, right? And some people have gotten kind of pissy because I've said that. I say, well, I'm sorry, man, that's the truth. But what we'll do right now is we'll even do a quick tarot reading on this and just asking if the Trump that is in the White House right now is the genuine Trump. Okay, let me go ahead and use the tarot on this. Let's see what we get. Is the Trump in the White House right now the Trump in the White House right now the genuine Trump? Okay, so the first card that came up was actually upside down, okay? So, no, this would represent the idea of a doppelganger, especially if something like that is coming upside down. If it was right side up, there would be kind of a confirmation of that. But when it was drawn, it was upside down. So no, this would represent the idea of a doppelganger, okay? A doppelganger coming together. But even with that doppelganger, they're still going to lead to things that are actually going to be beneficial for the people. Because that's really what I'm getting, saying even though there is a counterfeit Trump in the White House, a lot of what that counterfeit Trump is going to do is going to wake a lot of people up, right? And that's really how the tarot feels. If there's something that's happening, even if it's twisted, it's going to be something beneficial because it's going to wake up people all together, right? So when we look at the present situation here, we get the Four of Cups. So like I said, whatever this counterfeit Trump is doing, whatever his agendas are, and like I said, I feel that he's basically in the back pocket of Israel quite a bit. He's not going to be able to pull off a lot of stuff. So I feel like his own position in the White House may actually be in danger. Okay, so this tells me somebody who's being controlled. Okay, the counterfeit Trump is in bed with the cabals. Right, this is often a cabal card that comes up. And that is something that's maybe exposed a lot more here, right? I'd say much more through the deeper channels, not the public channels. But with what's happening, all of his actions, he's waking a lot more people up. So, yes, it's a counterfeit Trump. It is not a genuine Trump, and I know other people may have different opinions on that. Some people are saying the same thing I am. Some people are saying different things. And no, it's a genuine Trump. It's a genuine Trump. Well, the genuine Trump is still around, but he's not in the White House, right? So whatever he's doing, I don't know. I've tried to do a reading on him as well, too. He's not dead, right? That's the feeling I can say, is he has not been taken out. He has not been assassinated. He's just been missing. And so my feeling is that he's probably doing some work behind the scenes, working with military, working with higher groups in that way, and helping out in that particular degree. So basically there's counterfeit Trumps that are coming together, like I said, and they have an agenda, and that's their agenda in their White House. But like I said, a lot of the agendas that they're doing are going to result in waking a lot of people up. So that's a good thing. Okay, so we just have to kind of let it play out and see exactly what happens. But no, that's what I've been getting, and I've gotten that a few times now, is that it's not the genuine Trump. It is a doppelganger, not a clone, okay? Guys, clones are faulty, clumsy, ridiculous innovations, right? If you look at the nature of clones, they just can't pull it off. They can't pull off the role of trying to be human. They will just look so absolutely robotic. You're basically looking at a soulless vessel that is basically being mechanically controlled, okay? And it is absolutely ridiculous. It's really no more different than looking at one of these silly AI robots that are walking around. You can just basically tell that this person is not normal, right? You can't even really look at a human equation of it, right? So a lot of people put a lot of these theories, so to speak, pertaining to clones. Now, do clones exist? Yes. Would they be good enough to pull off something like that with what Trump is trying to do? Not in the least, right? You know, if we're looking at clones, you would look at the Men in Black, okay? If you look at the entire Men in Black agenda, that was an example of clones. And people that looked at these things were so unbelievably creeped out from them because there's nothing about them that appears human, right? They're completely robotic. They're like cyborgs, right? They really don't even know how to grasp emotion properly. Just the way that they look, the way that they carry themselves is so robotic. It just doesn't work, right? So clones are very much like that. And we have those, and those are referred to as, they're not called clones though. They're called programmable life forms, PLFs, okay? And that is basically gray technology, right? The technology of the grays, where they would be able to duplicate humans, and they basically have vessels that represent PLFs, and then you can basically program them similar to AI, right? And then you have like an artificial intelligence that's actually controlling these flesh bodies. But when it's being done, it's so inhuman. There's no natural instinct. There's no real flow of emotion pertaining to such beings. Like I said, if you've seen some cases with the MIBs, it tells you right there, right? The MIBs that have come together and talked to others, and then other people who have been in the face of these people have been so grossed out and creeped out by them. So there's nothing about them that's human, right? You can't pull that off with a president pertaining to using a programmable life form, okay? You would have to use a doppelganger. So that's really what's happening. And I've explained this a couple weeks ago about how it would be done, okay? So no, I don't feel it's a clone at all, even though there is clone technology or programmable life forms. Like I said, they don't call them clones. They call them PLFs, right? And those are the ones that are responsible for, like I said, the MIB agenda, for one example. So, but they're very creepy. You couldn't get away with it, right? People would just see through as, okay, this person's like a robot or something. I don't know what's going on. And of course, it's showing that there's some mental issues going on with Trump, but he still acts human even though he's twisted, right? So it's much lower than the idea of just being mentally off or being twisted. It's the idea of looking completely and acting completely inhuman. Just couldn't be pulled off. Not yet, anyways. Okay, so this one here is from Haneke. Do you think government mainstream media will announce extraterrestrial life, and if so, when? Well, we've already had Congress meetings that were being shown publicly about the idea of extraterrestrials. But the whole idea is what they announce is very, very sugar-coated. Okay, and it really is for the normies. The disclosures you would find on any national broadcast, even through Congress, my friends, they're for the normies. Okay, I was actually just doing a recorded interview with Dr. Michael Sella yesterday, and it's coming out next Thursday, my interview with Dr. Sella. And we were talking about this. I'm not going to spoil it because it was a really great interview. But usually a lot of the disclosures that are to come are for the normal people, are for the normies, okay? It's not for you guys that have been spending so many years doing deep research, right? And you're going to be disappointed by it every single time. Unfortunately, they're not. They're going to really spoon feed a lot of the disclosures. The true disclosures that will come will not be through a government agency, will not be through a news network. It will be through the skies. It will be through what we see ourselves. It will be through our sightings that we have, because that can happen, right? You will have a group of people that can go out and you can have incredible sightings up in the sky. You can even have mental connections. You can have telepathic communication with them. Those are the genuine sightings. That's the genuine disclosure, right? So many people have asked about thinking that, oh, okay, well, they're eventually going to disclose stuff. They will disclose it, but it's going to be so incredibly disappointing to so many of you that it's almost feeling like you just wasted your time trying to listen to them. That's how they are, my friends. They are not in the business of spilling the beans. I'm sorry, but they're not, right? They'll basically say, yeah, we've had some reports of military craft. We're just not too sure what they are. We have had reports of ships going into oceans and coming out of oceans, or launching into volcanoes and coming out of volcanoes. And we've had some curiosities about other spacecraft that have not been in our government branch, and blah, 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 blah. And they trail on and on and on and on, and they don't reveal anything. They're just saying, well, here it is. What do you think? Okay, that's the end of the Congress meeting. Okay, so that's what they do. So if you're looking at it through official mainstream channels, you are going to be extremely disappointed. If you're thinking that the government is going to reveal this, that is one of their biggest lids that they have kept on this for a very long time. They have absolutely no interest in spilling the beans, because if they do, everything that represents their systems becomes expired. It becomes archaic. All that stuff can be thrown away. If they can admit that, yeah, there's spacecraft there that work on zero-point energy. Really, you've had zero-point energy since the 1940s and you have not used it? We've been relying on coal and nuclear all these years, and you've had zero-point energy with these flying saucer technologies that you've been able to retrieve? Why hasn't that been put together in our power grids? Why haven't we been using zero-point energy for our power grids if you've had this knowledge for well over 80 years? You see how they're not going to put themselves in that situation? It's not going to work. So they will give you bits and pieces. They will give the normie explanations to a lot of these particular types of disclosures. My friends, you're not going to get massive disclosure from the media and from the government. It's not going to work. The only way that's going to happen is that when we actually go out and we witness these things ourselves, when we see these sightings, when they're coming up through the people, when they're being filmed by the people, when they're being documented by the people, that's where you find a greater disclosure. You got to stop relying on the government and the mainstream media to try to spill the beans, thinking that they're going to tell you absolutely everything about other civilizations, because they're not. That is a lid that they are going to do everything. They would rather die. All of them would rather die then give you the truth about that. That's just the way it is. Do not rely on them to try and open up the lid, open up Pandora's box about that. It needs to be done through the people. And that's probably what's going to be happening, because I was even telling Dr. Sella, there's going to be a lot of new, bigger sightings ahead. And it's going to be very, very powerful. It's probably going to be some bigger sightings, more than what you've ever seen before. But that's going to be an open event, right? That's not going to be sanctioned by government. Okay. So yes, there are times like that is coming, but not through the sanitation of a lens of government or mainstream media. Those are the ones you do not want to even poke around at this, because all they'll do is they'll start throwing manipulation around it of things that are not true. They basically try and weaponize this. They will try to make war with these particular types of beings. That's how they are. That's how the government and the mainstream media is currently aligned. Are they a threat? Should we prepare for war? Should we start creating space weaponry? Should we start preparing all these weapons in case they want to invade us? That's exactly the type of angle that they'll play. You don't want that, right? It's better for organic research, for us to work together and see exactly what is happening in the skies, within ourselves, and documenting that, keeping that together. So that's my view on that. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, this is the year of the fire horse question. Hi, Brad. Can you tell everyone why you are so easy to love? What? Okay, I really don't even know what that question is even about. Okay, I'm not even going to answer that. I appreciate your question, but that's a little weird. Okay, so yeah, no comment. But thanks for your donation anyways. Okay, yeah, Julie here says, I think that the real Trump is working with JFK Jr. Could be. It could very well be. I feel like he's working with other alliances. And that's that would be very close to what I was feeling as well, too, is that there are other people. I can't say if it is JFK Jr. in that sense, but there are certain organizations I feel like he's working with agencies. I feel like he's having those meetings at Cheyenne Mountain. I feel like he's talking to the human guardians. I feel like he's talking to beings, human beings here stationed on the moon, basically doing cleanup on the moon as well, too. And speaking of that, next Wednesday on the Earth Intelligence Report, we'll be looking much more into the human guardians as well, too, getting a little bit more insight on what they represent, who they are, why they're here, and what they're doing on the moon, and what they're doing to help out with the Earth and humankind as well, too. So we'll be looking into that next week. Okay. Haneke follows up and says, I feel like the normies will only accept the fact of ET life if it's on the news. You're right. You're absolutely right. Haneke, you are 100% correct about that. They will, because the news is their gospel, right? The mainstream media is their gospel. The government is their saving grace, right? And even though all this stuff is happening, there's still quite a lot of people that rely on the safety of the government, that rely on the intel of the mainstream media. And of course, a lot of it is going to lead to them buying hook, line, and sinker every single thing that they tell them. So yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But they're still going to be doing it through the normies. And so all they're really doing is, oh yeah, we've found a craft. It doesn't match any of our military designs. It doesn't match any of our current technology, and it was found on radar, and then it disappeared, and all that. We're still not too sure what it is. We can't really say if it's non-terrestrial, blah, blah, blah. That's how they waste 3 or 4 hours of people's time. They basically just sugarcoat everything. They create a bunch of filler, and they really say nothing. It's just that they leave everything with a big question mark. They don't leave answers. And that's a part of it, because like I said, they are trying to safeguard the one of the largest, probably the largest thing relating to what people want to know, right? Where are the other civilizations? Where are these civilizations? Have you established contact with them? Are you using reverse engineered extraterrestrial technology? Answer to all of them is yes, but they're not going to tell you that, because like I said, as soon as they do that, it threatens their industries. It threatens everything about them. You will throw all science books out the window. You will throw all of their industries out the window. Now you're starting to create gigantic industries that work with zero-point energy fields. Now you're working with industries that work with Tesla technology. Now you're working with all of these industries that every particular man, woman, and child on this planet can get free energy from. Because now, or basically I would say abundant energy from. Because now that has been exposed, everything about them and their industries go kaput. And now they lose trillions and trillions of dollars in those industries because they opened their big fat mouth and they told the truth. Wouldn't that be great? That would be absolutely great if the mainstream media and the government actually opened their big fat mouth and told the truth. But that's like me waiting in a lawn chair waiting for hell to freeze over. So there you go. But yes, it's all for the normies, and they'll only accept what the mainstream media and what the government tell them. So yes, of course, that's why we call them the normies, after all. Okay, so we got a donation-based question here from Sargent. Sargent says, "Hi Brad, what's your price prediction for Ethereum next year?" I'm not even too sure of what the current price of it is, but I see that it is going to be going up. Okay, this is why, like I've said, as I talked about just last week, that there are big corporations that are actually investing in Ethereum. So what I'd have to do, I'd have to look up Ethereum right now. I'm not too sure of what its price point is right now. Ethereum current price. Okay, so right now it is at $5,356.97. Okay, that's pretty good. But like I said, we're still in 2025, and 2025 is just, it's a constant flux year, right? As soon as something goes up, then it goes back down like the next day. Then it starts to stay down for a little bit, then it goes back up, and then it starts to go back down, right? This is why I say 2025 is just not a good year to invest with anything, because the markets are too unstable. Even with what I'm looking here at Ethereum, even if I'm looking at its past month. Okay, so it's gone up a little bit, gone down, gone up, gone up, gone up, gone up. Oh, now it plummets down. Oh, then it's gone up. Then it's gone down. Oh, then it's gone up. Then it's gone. This is exactly what I'm saying. So right now it's at $5,356. Okay, so if I'm looking at 2026, and I don't even know if I really want to answer this question, okay? Because then you guys are going to think that I'm some sort of crypto guru or something like that, okay? And I really don't know if I want to answer that question. So I would say, I don't know. I really have to think about answering that question. It's nothing personal, Sergeant. But again, if I'm answering these questions, you guys think I'm a crypto guru, and you're going to keep coming to me and asking all this crypto advice, and I'm not. All I'm doing is measuring energy, but people will start coming to me to think I'm a crypto guru. So, Sergeant, if you're here on Friday, ask me again. I'm going to give this some thought. I really just don't know if I want to get into that particular alignment of getting, getting into crypto predictions and stuff like that. Like I said, I'll look into certain energies, but I really don't want to say, oh, well, it's going to amount to this much, because people are going to hold me to it, right? It's like when I've said that XRP was going to go up to about $3 to $5, right? People are holding me to it, right? And that's not what I want to paint. I don't want to paint a picture here of thinking that I have all the answers as a crypto financier when I'm not that. So I need to be careful, okay? All I can say is that it will be a good year for Ethereum, but I'm not going to mention its price, okay? Just not right now. We'll see how things go in the future, but like I said, I just don't want to paint that picture of myself. So thank you for understanding. Okay, let's go further here. Okay, this one here is from Nancy. Nancy says, "Hi Brad, I hear that 3i Atlas might interfere with the planes in the sky. Is this true? As it might cause them to crash with the energies. Thanks." No, not at all. I was not getting anything like that. When I really looked into the passage of 3i Atlas, even just looking at it, it is going to be, it's not going to be causing harm in that way. It's not going to cause technology to short out. It's not going to cause planes to crash or anything of that. That's nothing more than innuendo and paranoia and just assumptions by people who have no idea what's even going on. There's still people who think 3i Atlas is a spaceship. It's not a spaceship, okay? It is a comet. It's a very rare and unique type of comet. And like I said, and I talked about this with Dr. Sella as well too. I said that it's not a spaceship, okay? But it's the idea that extraterrestrials have been behind it. Yes, it's engineered by them, but it's not a spacecraft in that way. It basically holds a lot of organic compounds, and that's exactly what you need. You want these things to be organic, because as they start to travel through space and through their passages through space, a lot of that debris releases from the comet, and it basically starts to magnetize onto atmospheres of local celestial bodies, and it's making one heck of a route. right? It touches Mars, it touches Venus, goes around the sun, goes down through Jupiter. So there's a lot of seed planting that it's doing. And I refer to comets as seed planters, okay? They are not metallic, artificial spacecraft. They are very much organic, and the organic compounds within them are essential because they actually do represent certain building blocks, right? We could basically say that there is ingredients within the comet that will bond together with the atmosphere of different planets that will actually enable the pulling away of certain veils. So really what I've seen with 3i Atlas is the idea of a comet that is helping to pull back veils in regards to what it represents. Because of its energy, because of how it's configured, because of how its natural affliction appears, it is actually going to be doing a lot of good things, okay? But I don't see it causing satellites to go out of orbit or causing planes to crash or anything. That would be horrific. That would be horrifying. And that's not what I've seen at all with 3i Atlas. So I completely disagree with anybody that's saying that stuff. And that's a lot of fear-mongering, right? And like I said, the internet is never short of fear-mongers, right? In fact, there's so many fear-mongers on this stupid internet that it's almost like you're ready to pay some people. Can you just try to be positive? I'll give you $20. Please just try to be positive about something, right? So with me, you get it for free. How about that, right? But it's not just me being positive. I'm actually looking into these things. And, I've had so many people just come up to me over the years and said, Brad, in 2015, we're going to have a massive earthquake that is going to shrink, that's going to just knock California completely off the continent. It's going to break it apart, and then California is going to sink, and then it's just going to be a chain of islands. Okay. I can tell you that's not going to happen, but I'm glad you're so passionate about something, right? 2015 passes, nothing. 2016, similar predictions. 2017, there's meteors coming onto the planet. There's asteroids coming in. There's nuclear war. CERN basically will put us into a hell dimension. If you guys actually kept track of a lot of these things, of what these people have been saying, even just with the past decade, look what they're also saying about COVID. We would never get off COVID. COVID is permanent, and they're going to start introducing more viruses, and COVID is just the beginning. It's not to say that that wasn't their plan, but it would not come to fruition. And I said, no, COVID's only going to last about 1 to 2 years. And then everything's going to go back to the way it was. Oh, Brad, you're crazy. You're nuts. No, this is what's going to happen, right? And it did, right? So I've always been kind of in the face of these fear-mongers because they don't really have the story. They basically start panicking. Their emotions are running high. They don't bother to look into themselves. They don't even look into themselves for these things. They get some sort of just blitz that takes them over, and now they just start spewing all this crap. And because they have thousands and thousands of subscribers, their word gets around, and they just start polluting the internet waves, so to speak, with their garbled garbage, right? And unfortunately, that's what happens. And even these people who claim to be really good psychics in that sense, who start getting into the doom and gloom, that's telling me that they've been compromised, right? So really, a lot of the stuff that they're fearing is what they're seeing from within themselves. But especially if they start being these gospels and they start being these really high, highly accurate psychics of past things, and then they start getting into fear-mongering. So when you see that within a psychic where they started looking at some really genuine things, and then they just start saying, no, we're all going to die, right? There's going to be thousands of people claimed. There's going to be hundreds of thousands of people that are going to lose their lives because we're going to see 3i Atlas coming together, and it's going to knock all the airplanes out of the sky, and then the airplanes are going to crash and are going to knock down buildings, and then things are going to blow up, and then more people are going to blow up, and then spontaneous human combustion happens, and everybody else is going to blow up, and yeah. This is the lunacy that happens. And what happens is that these particular people can be infiltrated. It's very easy for a lot of these particular people to be infiltrated. And with me, I've been staying consistent about this rationality for years. Like, Brad, how come you haven't been affected by that? Well, because I do my inner work. I actually walk my talk. I don't just look at a book at all these things where people think they even know the science of Kundalini, and they go on the YouTube and they start talking about it like they know it when they have never even had a Kundalini experience in their entire life. And they talk about it like some sort of armchair expert. And that's really what's happening. You have armchair psychics who don't even practice their own craft. They just look at something online. Oh, that's interesting. I bet I can get some followers if I start looking at this doom and gloom. Why? Because doom and gloom sells. Doom and gloom has a price tag to it. People want to feel safe, and they'll throw money at you to try and get you to say something positive. Nope, sorry. 3i Atlas is going to knock a bunch of planes out of the sky, and there's going to be horrible stuff all over the place, right? This is exactly how they think, right? The entire internet, the majority of it, is filled with a bunch of nutcases. They're filled with a bunch of nut bars. And these people do not do the work. They do not go within themselves. They do not look into themselves. They look at something, they hear something, they see something. What can I do to peddle some money off people? And I'll just create more of this fear and doom and gloom, and I'll get people just wanting to empty their bank accounts with me, because I'm going to basically tell them that the government's going to take everything away from you. You need to be in a bunker. You need to watch out. You need to watch over your heads, because 3i Atlas is going to cause chaos. There's going to be more viruses coming together, and then the government's going to do this, and the government's going to do that, and it's just more endless nonsense. And so, like I said, I stay consistent because I actually do the inner work, and a lot of the stuff that I share with you guys actually comes from within me. I'm not looking at other people's feeds. I'm not looking at a bunch of books that are trying to tell me this is exactly how things are. These are all perceptions. What has always come through me has always been through my own sources. It's never been from anybody else, right? There's certain people I may come into and talk to and get to know, and great, they have some of their own stuff, and I may agree with it and I may not. But sometimes there's mutual resonance, sometimes there isn't. But my job has always been try to bring things forward from my own source and share that. And I can tell you that it's not a doom and gloom period. There is a very bright future ahead for all of us. And we're just going through the trenches right now, right? And I talk to people, and they're level-headed, and they say that. I say, yeah, Brad, I know, because I've said and saying the same thing. Well, thank you. There's a sane person right there. And they're, no, Brad, we're going off the deep end, and we're gonna fall, and cataclysms are gonna happen, and there's chasms that are gonna open up, and it's gonna swallow us whole and stuff. Okay, you need to sit down and reflect and see exactly who you think you are, right? You need to see the light within yourself, because right now you're just surrounded by shadows. And that's really what I would say to the person. So just be very mindful of that. The whole internet is full of a bunch of lunatics and nutcases. A lot of them, the majority, right? There's a minority that are good people, that are honest, that actually go within themselves, and they actually share this information. And that's what you want to look for. If you find a person in that sense who's actually looking into their own source, and they're actually a lot more level-headed, that's a person you want to support, right? Because they're actually looking at things with a clear mind, right? Rather than being deluded and trying to find another sales pitch to try and sell doom and gloom to people, where they're emptying their wallets to this person so that they can go and buy a bomb shelter. Okay, so be careful with that. Just be mindful with those kind of people, because they are not on the level. They are not level-headed. They are basically in a state of temporary insanity. So need to be careful with that. Okay, how are we on time? We got about 5 or 6 minutes left, so we'll probably take 1 or 2 more questions. Okay, so this one here is from Jilly. Jilly says, hi Brad, on Monday of this week, a lot of websites were down. My work was having internet issues, and my friend called me and said her doctor's internet was down. Do you know what was going on? I didn't actually notice that. So I was online Monday. I didn't really detect any particular disturbances. But it could be an outage maybe in your local area. There's many explanations with that, right? First, I don't know where you are, so you'd have to kind of tell me where you are. But that might be better for a Friday discussion, okay? And just looking into this, because like I said, I kind of need to know exactly where you are. This could be just something in regards to an outage taking place on in your company's servers, right? Or your company's internet in that way. I really wouldn't say it's something to panic. If it was something where it was much more widespread and a lot more people were saying, yeah, Brad, like YouTube is down, Facebook is down, TikTok is down, right? All of these major sites are down right now, then we got something to talk about, right? That could be quite common ground. But if it's something like in your local area within a local office where you're seeing that there are some websites that were down in that sense, and if your work was having internet issues, like I said, that could just be part of something that was going on with your work, right? It's not to say that's some sort of astrological alignment, because if it was, there'd be a lot more people affected by it. So, Oregon, Amazon was down for a bit in my bank. Okay, but it may have been something just at your work though, right? The thing is, I don't really have enough evidence from you that would say that this would be something more widespread. If I had 100 more people telling me, hey, Brad, something happened on Monday, Amazon was down in that sense. Has anybody else noticed that? Did anybody else's internet go down on Monday? Right? Mine was completely fine, so I didn't have any problems whatsoever. But I'm wondering if anybody else has had any particular internet difficulties. So Jilly, as much as there could be something there, I just can't really put my finger on it because, like I said, this may have just been a local area problem for yourself, right? It's hard to draw any particular conclusions for that. Like I said, astrological alignments can happen. Sometimes there can be shifts, there can be phases, there can be outages that do take place, but sometimes that can be local, or if it's nationwide. If it's nationwide, then we have something big to talk about. But it's just not something that's being repeated en masse right now. So that's what I can share about it. It's just it's not something I can really comment on because there's not really enough other people that are saying, oh, this happened to me too, this happened to me too, right? So if it does, then that's something we'll talk about. But right now it feels like some sort of issue with your company or your local area. That's all I can draw the conclusion of right now with it. And I'm not really sensing anything bad about Monday this previous week, right? Or sorry, Monday from 2 days ago. I wasn't detecting anything in that way regarding to internet outages or anything of that nature, right? Nothing that's out of the ordinary. Okay, let's see here. Just give me a minute here, guys. I'm just kind of looking at other questions here. We got probably like 5 minutes here, so see if we can get down here in 5 minutes. So Hanake, I'm going to be doing a event or a webcast here very shortly about more about 2026. Okay, I believe I've already done a webcast on 2026 on my YouTube channel. You can search for it and you can find it. But I've already talked about 2026, especially with Adronis as well too, about it being a year of revolution. But as we get more into November, I'm going to be going to Egypt here between October 5th and October 17th. So when I get back, probably November 5th to November 17th. When I get back, I'll probably do another big webcast about the year 2026. So that time is coming, but I have elaborated on it quite a bit in previous webcasts. Just find them online, find them on my YouTube channel. I talk about a lot of this stuff, guys. What really helps me out, though, too, is if community members are here, if you can leave a list of things that I talk about, because I just don't always have time to fill in the list myself, is if some people can basically just go on the chat and say, here's what Brad talks about at 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It helps because then I can notice that and I can easily put that up. But sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't because my schedule is getting very thin right now. So that just helps me out a lot if members of the community can do that too. That way people can look at it and see exactly what I talk about and they can find things quite easily. But I got a big database. Okay, let's see. I'm just looking over questions here, guys. Just a second here. Paraneet says, the QFS already running, and can you start getting accounts there? The quantum financial system. I don't even think the quantum financial system is real, my friend. Okay, it's like I've said, I haven't talked about a quantum financial system. I know other people have, but I haven't really agreed to refer to it as that. Okay, there are new systems coming together. If you want the new systems come together, you work with crypto, right? So that's really where a lot of the genesis of the new system, because crypto is going to be a very big part of our world, right? It still is very young, but it's very much going to be the one of the big transformative takeovers relating to the financial industry. Like I said, there's going to be financial systems. So again, I'd say some of the two big runners would be cryptocurrency and BRICS. Okay, so those would be like the two big forerunners right now, and there probably will be some more that will be coming, but I would say you get introduced to crypto, right, and start looking into crypto if you want to get involved with the new financial system. But I've always referred to it as new financial systems. I've never called it quantum because I just don't like that word. I think that word is just ridiculous. So I don't call it a quantum financial system. I know that there's been certain psychics and readers in that sense that will call it, oh, the quantum financial system is coming. Okay, what the heck is a quantum financial system? And they can't even tell me what it is. Oh, it's the new financial system that's going to tell you, okay, what does it entail? What is it? Oh, I don't know, we just call it a quantum financial system. Yeah, so in other words, you might as well just call it, I don't know what the hell to call this, financial system. Like I said, that's just airy-fairy. That has absolutely no substance behind it. So what I would refer to as a QFS is a substanceless term to the idea of a new financial system that's coming, but it's not quantum, right? So again, a lot of it would be leading primarily through cryptocurrency and BRICS, right? That is where it'll be starting. That's a lot of the forerunners that are coming together. And then there will be other additions of financial systems that will come together. So you're looking at a world with financial systems, not just a financial system. This is why I've talked about a universal terminal that will come in quite commonly in department stores and everything. And that universal terminal, you can basically pay through any particular means that you want, whether it's cryptocurrencies, a whole list of crypto, or again, maybe it's bricks, financial, whatever you call it, bricks financial means, whatever they have. So they're probably going to have their own coin here pretty soon. Might be some other things as well too. There might be gold-backed currency that has a digital avatar to it as well too. So there's a lot coming, right? So I would say just get on the crypto wagon right now, because that is the beginning part of the new financial systems coming. Okay, I think we're almost out of time here, guys. Let me just kind of look through here real quick. See, this is exactly why I don't like talking about crypto, because then people just want to start throwing crypto stuff at me. And it's honestly one of my least favorite topics, because it's like, oh Brad, how are things going to be going to crypto here, and this and this and this and this and that, right? And I don't want to be that guy. I said I want to give people who actually have a lot more experience looking at crypto more credit, right, than me, because I'm not a crypto guy. I have some crypto, but I'm not a crypto guru in that sense. I will look at certain energies with that, but a lot of it takes some time, because you have to kind of look at the company. You have to look at their inertia. You have to look at their numerology. You want to look at their astrology as well too. You got to put these things together. Eventually, maybe I'll develop a system that will detail themselves with stats to getting an idea of how you can work with cryptocurrency a lot more. But it's very challenging getting a reading on these guys, because you have a lot of pieces to put together, right? This is why I say I really don't want to talk about Ethereum, of how high it's going to get, because there's so many variables to it, and I have to do a lot of research with Ethereum. On an energetic level, I see it doing this. Now, when I see it doing this, that doesn't mean it's going to instantly have that value of number there. It just means that it's going to do well. But I can't give you a fixed sense, because I don't have that information yet. I have to look into that a little bit more, because there's a lot of factors you have to play with it. With XRP is a little bit different, because I actually did the background check of XRP, and that they are going to continue to soar, right? And because they're more of a young upstart company, they're going to have a lot of momentum behind them. Ethereum's been around for a very, very long time. And I think it's going to do very, very well, specifically next year and the year after. But again, I don't have a fixed rate on how well it's going to do, right? If it's $5,300 right now, then we'll definitely see a lot more of that increasing. But there's no fixed number there right now. Okay. All right, everybody. I think we're going to wrap up for that today, because usually I like to keep the Earth Intelligence Report for about an hour or so. So again, come back on Friday. I'll be back here with the Wisdom Nexus, where we'll be doing some viewer topics. We'll be doing some personal readings as well, too. Okay, personal readings can also represent personal healing, okay? And we can basically work up to 3 areas, should you want to look into that as well, too. So come back on Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, for the Wisdom Nexus. Thank you very much for tuning in today for the Earth Intelligence Report. I'll be back next week for the Human Guardians Earth Intelligence Report. That's going to be really exciting to talk about. And I'll see you all next week, and see you again this Friday too. Take care. Blessings to you all. Namaskar. Bye for now.